Imagine a single, 6-lane bridge, more than just concrete and steel. It represents nearly a quarter of all trade between two of the world's closest allies. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is a $4.8 billion project, built during a time of economic friction. The very materials needed became pawns in a high-stakes tariff war. For decades, the aging Ambassador Bridge carried this relationship, but a modern alternative was needed. The bridge became a symbol of conflict, threatening decades of cooperation. Let's examine how infrastructure and geopolitics collided on the Detroit River. For years, the need for a new Windsor-Detroit crossing was clear. The Ambassador Bridge, built in 1929, had become a bottleneck, handling over $100 billion in annual trade. Relying on a single aging bridge was risky. A failure could cripple supply chains continent-wide. The solution? A new bridge, agreed upon in 2012 and named for hockey legend Gordie Howe. With an 853-meter main span, it's among North America's longest and includes advanced ports of entry. The bridge signaled deeper economic integration until rising trade tensions put that vision to the test. The 2016 election of Donald Trump marked a dramatic shift in U.S. trade policy. The new America First doctrine saw trade as a zero-sum game, not mutual benefit. Trump targeted NAFTA, calling it the worst trade deal ever signed. The administration quickly embraced protectionism, using Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act to justify tariffs on imports deemed threats to national security. For the first time, national security was interpreted in broad economic terms. Declining U.S. steel and aluminum production was seen as a risk. Canada, America's closest ally, was caught off guard, expecting exemption due to deep economic and defense ties. Prime Minister Trudeau's government lobbied hard, arguing Canadian steel and aluminum were integral to both nations' supply chains. But the White House was unmoved, creating uncertainty across North America. Businesses built on tariff-free trade now faced chaos, rethinking supply chains and delaying investments. The Gordie Howe Bridge, designed to facilitate trade, was now being built as the very principles of free trade came under assault. Infrastructure and geopolitics were on a collision course. In March 2018, the Trump administration imposed 25% tariffs on imported steel and 10% on aluminum, citing national security. Canada, the largest supplier of both to the U.S., was hit hard. In 2017, Canada exported $12.4 billion in steel and aluminum to the U.S. The tariffs raised costs for American industries, automotive, aerospace, construction, impacting supply chains and consumers. U.S. businesses paid $1.4 billion more per month, while retaliatory tariffs from Canada targeted key U.S. products. Canada's countermeasures, worth $16.6 billion, aimed to maximize political pressure. The result, a tit-for-tat trade war between two deeply integrated economies. The Gordie Howe Bridge project, requiring 46,000 metric tons of steel, was caught in the crossfire. Steel and aluminum crossed the border multiple times for fabrication, each trip now a potential tariff liability. The bridge, meant to symbolize free trade, became a financial casualty of protectionism. Supply chains grew more complex and costly. The project's budget and timeline were suddenly at risk. The trade war's impact was felt in every beam and bolt. The bridge's future now depended on the outcome of a political battle. Steel and aluminum tariffs were just the beginning. The automotive industry, the Windsor-Detroit region's lifeblood, faced an even greater threat: proposed 25% tariffs on all imported autos and parts. The just-in-time manufacturing model relies on seamless, tariff-free border crossings. A single vehicle's parts can cross the border multiple times before assembly. In 2017, U.S.-Canada automotive trade topped $100 billion. A 25% auto tariff would raise car prices by thousands and cost hundreds of thousands of U.S. jobs. The region's economy, dominated by automakers and suppliers, was at risk. The threat of auto tariffs pushed both countries to resolve trade disputes and renegotiate NAFTA. Uncertainty poisoned investment, with automakers unable to plan for the future. Industry leaders warned of mutually assured destruction for North American auto. The Gordie Howe Bridge was being built to serve this integrated supply chain. Its design, wider lanes, dedicated truck facilities, was meant to make cross-border trade more efficient. Yet, as construction advanced, politicians threatened to make that trade prohibitively expensive. The bridge's business model was now tied to the outcome of a high-stakes trade battle. The irony was impossible to ignore. Tariffs on steel and aluminum hit just as the Gordie-Howe Bridge project reached its most critical phase. Bridging North America faced rising material costs and immediate financial risk. Cross-border steel shipments triggered tariffs, adding complexity and uncertainty. Project managers scrambled for tariff exemptions, but the process was slow and bureaucratic. The episode exposed how vulnerable major infrastructure is to sudden trade policy shifts. The steel rising from the Detroit River became a symbol of resilience in a trade war. As tariffs took their toll, officials on both sides launched intense diplomatic efforts. Canada's government negotiated directly with the White House, lobbied U.S. lawmakers, and imposed strategic retaliatory tariffs. The message tariffs hurt businesses and workers in both countries, and the national security claim was baseless. Meanwhile, NAFTA renegotiations added pressure to resolve the dispute. U.S. industries reliant on Canadian steel and aluminum became vocal opponents of the tariffs. The Gordie-Howe Bridge project itself became a symbol of economic interdependence. In May 2019, a breakthrough, the U.S. lifted Section 232 tariffs on Canadian and Mexican steel and aluminum. Canada dropped its retaliatory tariffs. New monitoring mechanisms were put in place to address U.S. concerns about transshipment. The resolution cleared a major obstacle to ratifying the USMCA. For the bridge, it meant relief from escalating costs and logistical headaches. Construction could proceed without the shadow of a trade war. The episode was a stark reminder. Even the best-planned projects are vulnerable to geopolitics. Diplomacy and economic pragmatism ultimately prevailed. With tariffs lifted and the USMCA ratified, focus returned to the bridge's long-term vision. The Gordie-Howe Bridge isn't just replacing an old crossing. It's future-proofing North America's most important trade corridor. Its 6 lanes and advanced ports of entry are designed for growth and new technologies. Reduced wait times for trucks will save millions in logistics costs and cut emissions. The bridge includes a multi-use path for pedestrians and cyclists, fostering community ties. Customs plazas and highway links are adaptable for autonomous vehicles and advanced screening. The bridge is an investment in efficient, secure supply chains for generations. Economic benefits are projected in the billions, with thousands of permanent jobs created. For key sectors, automotive, agriculture, manufacturing, the bridge means reliability and resilience. By providing a crucial second crossing, it protects just-in-time delivery systems from disruption. The bridge embodies the principles of the USMCA, making tariff-free trade tangible. As construction nears completion, it stands as a symbol of resilience and integration. Despite political turbulence, the logic of North American partnership endures. The Gordie-Howe International Bridge is a modern parable, a project born in cooperation, tested by a trade war. Intended as a symbol of unity, it became entangled in a dispute over its very materials. Tariffs placed the bridge in the crossfire of protectionism, threatening costs and supply chains. The episode exposed the vulnerability of critical infrastructure to political shifts. Yet, the bridge outlasted the storm, its construction a testament to resilience and shared interest. Today, it stands as a powerful symbol, a 1.5-mile commitment to a connected future. The project survived a trade war, a pandemic, and political upheaval to secure the Windsor-Detroit corridor. It's more than steel and concrete. It's a promise of shared prosperity. The bridge's journey asks, in a world of walls, what does it take to keep building bridges? The answer, enduring economic logic and the will to cooperate, even in turbulent times.